I messed up tonight. I lost another fight. I still mess up, but I'll just start again. I keep falling down. I keep on hitting the ground. I always get enough. See what's next. Birds don't just fly. They fall down and get up. Nobody learns without getting it wrong. I won't give up, no, I won't give in till I reach the end and then I'll start again. No, I won't leave. I wanna try everything. I wanna try even though I could fail.
Hello, Zootopia fans, and welcome back once again to yet another episode of Zootopia Minute, the minute-by-minute podcast where we review, analyze, and criticize the hit Disney movie of 2016, Zootopia. And we are back once again recording here on Super Bowl Sunday, so I don't know if anyone scores. It's just sort of started right now, the game. Neither me nor my co-hosts are very interested in it. If anything happens, maybe we'll get a little update. Not that you'll care, because this is being recorded and won't be heard live, but you'll get to hear our little thoughts on that maybe as we move forward. That being said, yes, this is Zootopia Minute, and I am your host, Simul, joined here by my co-host,
Choco. I do want to say, go 49ers! Woo! Super Bowl!
Yeah, go 49. You're going to confuse people in the date when they're listening to this podcast. They're going to be like, wait, what year is this from?
We are really placing dating this podcast, but it's actually a weird coincidence because we normally record around this time, and the time that we normally record is when the Super Bowl is starting up.
Yeah, so it literally, the game is starting like right now, basically. As we talk, they're probably doing the kickoff.
So
we had a stream
there might
up.
be some fun.
Yeah, we might find out. But before we get too distracted by that, this is going to be minute 46. So this is going to be from timestamp 4600 to 4659 in the movie, for those of you following along. It begins on the line uttered by Nick, but on CD, who still uses CDs, in reference to that Jerry Vole CD that they found. And remember now, they are inside of this limousine. They've broken into, snuck into, under iffy circumstances by Judy, this limo service. They've gotten inside the limousine where they believe Emmett Otterton to have been held. They're looking around, and indeed, looking through the back partition, they find evidence of something not so great having gone on in the back seat. As they're investigating, Nick finds a glass in the limo with a big calligraphic B on it, and he realizes, oh no, he knows who this company belongs to. It is a mysterious Mr. Big, who apparently is not a fan of Nick, so Nick urges them to get out of there. They open the door and, oh no, there's some polar bears standing right there ready to receive them. And that is where the minute ends. So, sort of an interesting minute of transition, I think. The plot is definitely thickening. We've spent the last few minutes just sort of searching for this missing otter, and maybe now it's finally getting somewhere. What do you think?
Yeah, so it's, again, another interesting minute, and it's nice that we have kind of nice cliffhangers on complete sentences. I do want to say, once again, my fox husband, Nick Wilde, has some fantastic expressions throughout the scene. Very, very emotive. Definitely more emotive than Judy, who looks very, very, one expression most of the time.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if that's intentional, or if you look at their two different character designs, I think Nick's eyes are a bit larger than Judy's.
Well, again, Nick was the originally supposed to be the main character from the earlier versions of the script, and he was also the first character they tested the animation rigs for this movie. So his model was the one which was built the first. His model was the one they used in all the early promotional material, and they did a bunch of test runs with his early model. So I wouldn't be surprised if they put a lot of work into him. Compared to Judy, but yeah, interesting minute. I do want to say, again, talking about the size thing, we keep on mentioning this for previous minutes on Zootopia, but the car seats look pretty big in the limousine, and I'm wondering if this limo is specially catered to larger mammals, or if they have like little children-sized seats that they put in the car for like smaller mammals and stuff.
It could be adaptable. Well, Emmett apparently was in it for some reason. We don't really know why he's in it as of yet, but evidently the limo picked him up. I mean, that seems to be evidentiary anyways. It could be that it's just adaptable to any size, or maybe they've got a seat that's designed in sort of like a self-similar way that has it scaled down like a fractal chair. You just get a smaller chair inside each chair. Who
Yeah,
knows?
we didn't see any mechanisms for that, but that's probably the case.
Just
But
gonna assume it's the super high-tech, like, fold-out thing, just like...
well, again, we are looking at this perspective from the perspective of humans, but in this world, humans did not exist. We don't know exactly what size Nick and Judy are compared to us in the real world, but based on how they look in this movie, it looks like a car that's for human size. And
Yeah.
I can't actually really think of that many human-sized animals. So again, it's us judging the film from the perspective of humans, but it's like, oh, this car is obviously a human-sized car. Wouldn't cars have evolved differently in this world than compared to how we developed them here, especially if they're catering to so many different types of animal species?
I guess this goes for any sort of technology in this world, and we have talked about this many times already, but I guess there's two routes you can take. You can either make something that is designed to accommodate all body types, or you would go the route of making a different type of product for each thing. And when it comes to cars, we have evidence to the latter option because we've seen those tiny mouse cars already. But that is an interesting question for sure. And I think as they were breaking into this car in the end of the last minute, I think you could see Nick kind of having to reach way up to get at the handle, if I'm remembering correctly, maybe?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, again, evidence to the size. But apparently, still not too large a car to be picking up an otter, which is interesting because they do look through this car. Nick spots a window to the partition in the seating area, opens it up, and says, "Hey, Carrots, if your otter was here, he had a very, very bad day." They go take a look, and there's all these claw marks all over the seats in the back. So clearly something not great was going on back there.
Now, just from the perspective of a person who's a little bit more realistic, who wants realism in my film about talking animals, the claw marks don't look like they're actually done by like sharp nails, because it doesn't seem like they're actually cutting into the cushions where you would see like the stuffing and foam sticking out. They just seem to be like kind of black marks. It's like if you dipped your fingers in like black paint and just kind of like ran it across the car seats.
Yeah, but that just might be a detail thing where it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, we never get a super close-up of any specific marks. It just kind of looks generally scuffed up.
Well, one thing we did get a close-up on is the wallet they found.
Yeah, so Judy is able to confirm, yeah, it was indeed Emmett back here because they find his wallet on the floor of the car. And I think that's actually one of my favorite little things we get to see because we get a lot of text to read. That's like one of my favorite things to happen in this movie. Anytime we get words, basically.
Yeah, I guess we could look through the credit cards first.
Yeah,
The
so
first
here we go.
credit card
Puns of the episode.
Yeah, the first one is First National, which I guess is a play on First National Bank.
First National.
Again, going back to the idea of Zootopia being a nation, probably. Mm-hmm.
See, okay, we'll get into that with the driver's license.
Yeah.
But then the other card says Mouster Charge, which I think must be a MasterCard pun.
Yeah.
I don't know what else it would be. I don't know why they didn't use the word card, unless that was so close to their copyright that they're like, nope, can't do that.
Maybe, but it's also, again, it's a play on word on a specific animal, so you assume that only mice would use, like, a Mouster Charge card. But here we have an otter using it, so, I don't know.
Or maybe it's the company was founded by mice. Because we saw that bank of lemmings or whatever, or the lawyers. What were they? Do you remember the lemmings from earlier?
Yeah, the Lemming Brothers.
Lemming Brothers, what was it? Did it say what the business actually was? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was like holdings or something, but...
Yeah, just some generic business. Business things?
Business.
It's like the kid from
BoJack.
Vincent.
Yeah, Vincent Adult Man.
That's Vincent Adult Man.
I'm going to do a
kids
business.
Stacked on top of each other.
Actually, that guy has creepy implications when you think about it.
No, I know. There's some parts in that make you think, I'm sorry, but let's not get into that right now.
Yeah.
We also get to see this nice picture of Emmett's family in the wallet. Such a lovely little family. They got 2 kids there. One's got a soccer ball. Such
Again,
nice
so
people.
soccer exists in this world.
Mm-hmm. Soccer is now canon for all you soccer fans that are just holding your breath the whole movie. Will there be soccer? I'm sure that's how it works.
So that means British people probably exist?
No, I refuse. Not allowed. No offense to British people. The most interesting thing in this wallet, I think, is the ID. We have a driver's license, a Zootopia driver license. And it does say driver and not drivers, which is something that it's called in my state. In Washington, they're also called driver licenses, but everyone says driver's license. I don't know if in other states it actually is drivers or if it's just a false name that everyone uses for some reason.
I left my wallet in my room. Let me pull up the California one.
Right, because you only have California identification, right?
Actually, I have Maryland too.
Oh, but not Texas.
No, not
You
yet.
lived in 3 states.
Yeah,
That
I have.
must be cool.
I know, and between those 3 states, there's like 8 NFL teams, including California that has 4 NFL teams now, and not a single one made it to the Super Bowl, so shame on...
Shame on all of them.
Yeah, shame on them.
Yeah, so if we look at the details of this ID, there's a few things we get to read. It does say Zootopia driver license with a picture of Emmett, a little barcode. It's got a number. It's 01-1957-1955. I don't know if there's any significance to those. They're
At
years.
first, they look like years, but then they are going not in chronological order. So it can't be like... I thought it might be a birthday as well, but it isn't formatted like a
Some sort of
tropical
inside
date.
joke.
I guess it could be their equivalent of a social security number.
Why would they put that on your... unrelated, but...
We as Americans are the only country that's kind of unique because we actually don't have a national identification card. Almost every other country has one. Like, our closest equivalent is the social security card, the state driver's license, and the passport.
So one of the biggest arguments for getting a national ID card is that social security numbers were never designed to be used for identification, and it's totally insecure.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I don't want to get into it now, but it's a bad idea to use social security as IDs. Anyway, if we read Emmett's ID here, his driver license, there's a few things that crop up. First one I want to point out, it says place of, does that say place of birth or place of residence?
Well,
If it says birth, so if it says birth, that's fine. If it says residence, it makes no sense because it's already a Zootopia driver's license. So it's redundant. It's like, yeah, no kidding, you live in Zootopia. You have a Zootopia driver license.
Well,
like...
okay. Well, I mean... his residence, or it actually doesn't say whether it's a place of residence or birth, but it does.
I think it does. It says place of, and I just can't read the other word.
No, I'm looking at it now. It says Emmett Arterton. There's some numbers you can't read, and it says Millet Avenue, Zootopia.
Down there it does.
Oh.
No, I mean look under the number. Look under the number 01195 thing. It says place of something Zootopia.
Yeah, that's kind of hard.
If it's place of birth, sure. If it's place of residence, you'd think it would say like Tundra Town or, the individual neighborhood, not just Zootopia. Unless, of course, it's the thing we've been discussing where maybe Zootopia is also the name of the country.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to get into that discussion again, because especially when we look at the address at the bottom, it says Millet Avenue, and normally after you have the street name, you will have the city name, the state or province name, and then the country's name. And here we just have Zootopia.
It's just Zootopia.
So does that go for theory that Zootopia is kind of like a city-state, a country? What is this?
See, that's weird too, because we've seen addresses before, and before addresses actually mentioned the district.
Yeah.
They actually said Tundra Town. This one doesn't. So I don't even know.
Because the districts, like we were saying, could be like the boroughs of New York, which are, in the New York case, even though they're all parts of the same larger city, they're all considered counties at the state level. So yeah, it's kind of curious, because let's say Zootopia is a city, state, and country. You would basically have Zootopia for all your driver license needs. So
kind of weird.
Yeah.
Well, the other things listed on the ID, there's gender, an M for male. There is species. It says otter, fur brown, eyes brown, and then it's like type, I think, and it just says D or O or something. Maybe it's blood type. The weird thing to me, it says fur brown and eyes brown. Now to me, you'd think, well, not necessarily every animal has fur, right? But you would want, when you're designing an ID, you'd want to format it in a way that's able to apply to everyone.
Well, okay, does your ID have hair color?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so when you dye your hair...
It doesn't have to, right. I was thinking about that because I've shown my ID to like buy beer and stuff. And
yeah, because I had my hair blue and blonde for a while as well, and I don't think people have noticed. But also, what do they put with your bald? I'm assuming if an animal doesn't have fur, it'll be basically this equivalent of what we would do
be like
if it's
NA
bald. Yeah,
or something
like that.
Yeah. Hair, NA. I don't know if I've ever seen that, but I hope that exists. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Well, that's sort of all the detail we get from that ID. Fun little bit of text there going forward.
Again, the most interesting part is us looking more into that theory, whether Zootopia is a city, country,
yeah, I have a feeling
state.
that's we've brought that up so much already, and I have a feeling it's going to be brought up again. This is probably going to be one of those long-term mysteries about the movie that as we continue through the podcast and we get further into the movie, we'll probably find more and more clues.
Yeah, well, the first credit card we've read kind of plays with the idea that Zootopia is a nation because it says because fur's national. So
unless it's just in a nation, but the nation isn't also called Zootopia. Maybe it's a city-state. I don't want to get too bogged down by this because we have gone over it many times.
Okay.
So it's something we'll have to find out about as we continue to watch the film, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, the very next thing that happens is they continue to look around. Nick notices, oh, there's a small glass here on the side, on the floor, and there's a big calligraphy letter B on it, and he has a moment of like, oh no, when he realizes he may just recognize who this belongs to, whose limo this is, and he turns to Judy and has to sort of give this warning saying, this is bad, I know whose car this is, we gotta go. Why? Whose car is it? Says Judy. It's the most feared crime boss in Tundra Town. They call him Mr. Big, and he does not like me, so we gotta go. Judy doesn't want to leave, saying, hey, come on, this is a crime scene. Nick says, no, it's gonna be an even bigger crime scene if Mr. Big finds me in here, so we're leaving right now. The door opens, revealing two very, very tall, large polar bears standing outside, who Nick apparently recognizes, calling them by name. Raymond! And is that Kevin? And that's where the minute ends. So let's talk about this for a bit. We apparently have a Mr. Big. We have some sort of extra character that maybe might be somewhat of a villain.
Yeah. Oh, well, quick update before we continue on that. The Philadelphia Eagles have scored 3 points.
Oh, good. Yeah, by the way, I'm not rooting for the Eagles. I'm just rooting for the not Patriots.
I think that's the thing. All my friends I asked who they're cheering for, they say they just hate the Patriots. And I never knew that the Patriots hate was this big. Like, they're all talking about Deflategate and stuff, and I'm like, oh, I don't know too much about that.
I don't even care about that. To me, it's just they beat the Seahawks.
Oh, your
last
team.
Time the Seahawks were up.
I always thought it was like the Seattle Coffee Makers or something. I don't know.
The coffee makers. Oh my goodness gracious.
Well, ours is the 49ers, minor 49ers. So, okay. Well, going back to the Mr. Big Glass. The letter B, again, I'm a font person as well. It's a Germanic font that we see. So, maybe a hint at his origin. So, but I can say...
I don't think he's German.
Okay.
Mr. Big.
So you're saying you're saying there's no Germans and no British people in this film? How dare you?
They're not on Earth, are they? Or is it like alternate?
It is alternate Earth where I guess us humans weren't there. Anyways, we could safely assume whether Mr. Big is a polar bear. Might be hinted he's a polar bear.
Yeah.
He's probably not a small animal. He's not a mouse because that glass is pretty big. I can't picture myself seeing a mouse, even an otter, pick up a glass that big. So
you know what? Maybe it's a jacuzzi. Why are you assuming it's a drinking glass?
Okay, there are like a million things wrong with how a jacuzzi could work with a glass like that. We're not even gonna get into it. But it's interesting that Nick recognizes it right away because it could be any generic bee. In fact, it doesn't look it doesn't look like a special bee. There's like no coat of arms around it.
If you get something monogrammed, it's always that kind of diploma style Germanic
font. And it's
like...
not even a custom monogram. It looks like one of those monograms you pick up at the dollar store.
Yeah.
If you custom a monogram, you'll have both letters or all 3 letters in your name. Or...
Yeah, Mr. Big is just his name. He's actually like not very rich at all.
Or you have like your coat of arms or something to identify you. It's just a bee that you'll pick up from the dollar store, souvenir store. So I don't know. Maybe Nick knows this person well enough that he's drunken out of a glass many times.
It's Biggie. It's Biggie's limo. Biggie Smalls.
Sure.
That's the direction this movie is going.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see where it's going.
I guess so. Now think about it this way too, because you mentioned the size of the limo.
Yes.
Evidently, it's large enough for polar bears to fit into, and polar bears are the largest land predator that exists on Earth in real life.
Yes.
That's interesting because we see them next to a fox and a rabbit, which aren't large animals, and yet maybe in the next few minutes we'll get a better shot that'll show them both kind of in the same frame to give us a good size comparison.
Yeah.
But we've been talking about the size of Nick and Judy and how is Judy a larger than normal rabbit. Just because we know polar bears are huge, this might give us a better idea of that. So that's something to pay attention to in the future for sure.
Going back to our previous discussion about how things are made for different animals of different sizes, I'm going to say that just right now, this car would not be comfortable for an animal Nick or Judy size or the polar bear size. If it was a polar bear,
polar bear would be
so
cramped.
big. Yeah, it would be like sitting in one of those tiny kids' chair where you have to kind of squat.
It'd be like The Incredibles, you know, Bob's car in the beginning. It's like so tiny and he's like all scrunched up trying to fit in.
Incredibles 2 in the house.
I'm so excited for that. Yes, but go on.
And then for Nick and Judy, if you ever sat in a chair that's way too big, it's uncomfortable because your knees can't really bend unless you sit on the edge, but then you don't have any back support at that point.
And your feet just dangle.
Yeah, for either character, it's not going to be comfortable at all. So I don't know who these cars are catered to.
It's meant for a nice happy medium. And then the extreme edges on either side, neither of them are comfortable.
Yeah, it's like a bell curve.
So you need like a good medium-sized animal, be good and comfy.
I think a lion or a zebra might fit okay.
Could be.
We'll have to see.
We'll have to find out. Well, that's just about it for the minute.
Yeah, so I guess, want to talk about your predictions for the Super Bowl?
I think that the Eagles will win. Not because I have any real idea or that I care about football at all. It's actually my least favorite sport. I just want them to win.
How dare you? Are you really not a pure-blood American?
Okay,
this is the most American sport.
Listen to me for a moment, because football, the reason I don't like it is because it's too complicated. Football has more, American football anyway, has more rules and regulations than almost any other sport. And if you actually break down the amount of time taken up watching a football game, I've seen pie charts of this where it's like out of like a whole, I don't know, 3-hour game, only a tiny portion of that is actual gameplay when the players are moving around. The rest of it is stopping and commercials and breaks and timeouts and the halftime show and all that. It's just not, it's too much stopping and starting. It's like,
well, that's only for the
little
Super Bowl.
tiny 10-second snippets of gameplay and the rest of, no, it's any football game.
Well, is there halftime shows for regular
No,
football
not
games?
halftime shows, but the same applies otherwise. It's just too much stopping and starting. I can't
I think it's
follow
a little
it.
more
It's so
fast-paced.
staccatoed that the flow is interrupted to the point where I cannot pay attention to it. It just does not hold my attention. What I really like to watch is soccer. I think that's my favorite sport to actually
Oh
watch.
my god,
because
you
soccer,
freaking European housewife.
Soccer is the exact opposite. It does not stop. The game clock in soccer never stops at all. There might be timeouts and stuff, but what they do is they just add the time onto the end of the game that was taken up. And
How dare
I
you
just
call
think it
yourself
works
an
so much
American
better.
and you like these European girly sports?
It's not a European girly sport. Listen, soccer, I played that when I was a kid. Soccer's great.
Did you see the King of the Hill episode where Bobby wanted to join soccer
Yes,
and Hank
yes.
says it was invented to keep European
Okay.
housewives active?
My theory about why more Americans aren't into soccer is that it's too likely that you end up in a tie, because that does happen a lot in soccer. And I think Americans are so impatient that they don't want to see something unresolved that way.
Well, we do have a very good women's soccer team.
I wouldn't know. I don't pay attention to any sports, really. Pretty much nothing.
Wait, you just said you like soccer. You don't know anything about the
I
women's
said
soccer
I
team?
like soccer, and that is it's my least unfavorite.
Okay.
I don't like any sports.
Well,
Soccer is
actually,
just
one
the most
thing-
tolerable to me.
Speaking of soccer, I guess, in fact, our name soccer is actually short for association football, so we actually
That makes
abbreviate
sense.
from the word association.
It makes sense.
What's
Because
interesting
we're
about
American, we have
it,
to have a special different name for everything.
no, the original name is Association Football, and
Yeah, of course.
we abbreviate it from that. It's kind of that strange thing where, because the British Empire was an empire that controlled most of the world, it spread a lot of influence around the world, much like how they adopted the metric system, and all the other colonies they owned eventually adopted the metric system. But because we broke away first, when they still had the imperial system, we kept the imperial system. And I think we kind of kept the name Association Football as well before everyone else in the world adopted football for it.
Right. Update, by the way, it's now a tie game. It's 3-3. We're still in the first quarter, 4:17 on the clock. So I guess it's anyone's
interesting.
game.
Well, what's interesting about the World Cup as well, on the topic of soccer, is apparently a joint United States, Canadian, and Mexican bid is being held to host the coming World Cup, where it'll be the first time all three nations hosted a World Cup.
So it's just like North America is
Yeah, it's
hosting it.
basically going to be a North American Cup. But basically, I think half the games will be played in the United States, while the other 2-quarter games will be played in Canada, Mexico, with the final game taking place in America. So it's kind of interesting. It goes back to the idea of like an American Union and whatnot.
Yep.
But I like the idea. Okay, well, speaking of your Seattle Seahawks, I asked my Alexa who was going to win the Super Bowl, and she was basically saying she hated the Patriots because they beated her Seahawks, and since Alexa is from Seattle,
really?
yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that they made Alexa a Seahawks fan and gave her like a rationale for. That's so thorough. I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, what's weird is she's normally just bland and stoic. Like if you ask like what political party are you? What's your opinion on gay rights? Which candidate will you pick? She's like, I have no opinion on that. I have no opinion on that. And when you ask like, oh, who's going to win the Super Bowl? It's like, oh, the Patriots are going down and blah, blah, blah. She's like very active. It's like,
that's because you finally asked a question that mattered, Choco. Don't you understand?
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that.
It's a reflection of how Americans actually think. think. You gotta ask the right questions.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I really appreciate that. Good job, Amazon.
All right. Well, we won't know who's going to win this Super Bowl, but by the time this episode's up, you guys will know. So
You guys will.
yeah.
Yep, so you'll have to let us know, because Lord knows we won't be paying attention. We probably will.
And one quick thing before we go, if any furries are in town for Furry Fiesta in Dallas this coming weekend, I will be there in the dealer's hall. I'll be vending at table 59 and 60, so be sure to stop by and check me out.
All right, good to know. Anyways, that's going to do it for this episode of Zootopia Minute, guys. Thanks so much for watching, following along with us. If you do enjoy the podcast, if you have not yet already, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. You can also like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Zootopia Minute. And as always, our inbox is open, zootopiaminute@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on anything that we've discussed on the minute, or just anything else you would like to let us know.
And we are still waiting your fanfics.
Yes, your Jerry Vole fanfics. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Thanks again so much for listening. Have a good one.
Go 49ers!